Hi, I'm Josh.
And I'm Vetus.
There's only four things you can do in math. You can add, subtract, multiply, and divide. But there's certain words in word problems which trip up a lot of people that mean these operations. So we're going to teach you some of them. The first is addition. You can add, addition, plus, more, and, total, increase, sum, and together. Now, even though it's the sum, I think it should be called the all. Like 3 and 6 is 9. That shouldn't be called sum. 3 is sum, and 6 are sum. But I think it should be called the all. All right. In addition to that, we're going to add these words. When you add or you have something positive, let's put positive.
Positive, okay.
Okay. You can earn money. You can have money if you have it, if you save it, or even if you find it on the street. You know, as long as it's like not $1 million, you got to return $1 million. Okay, but if it's a $20 bill and you find it, then that's positive. You're adding to the money, and you're going to stick that in your wallet probably.
Exactly
Okay.
right.
Subtraction. Go ahead.
Okay, subtraction. It's subtraction, subtract, minus, take away, decrease, take from, reduce, or fewer.
And then of course difference. That's a big one. So put difference.
Okay.
The difference between two things is always going to be using subtraction, okay? And they're not asking you to describe things. Also, if you spend, so put negative. Also, put,
Negative's right there.
yeah, okay. Put negative and then put spend, lose. If you spend money, this is in terms of money. If you lose, if you owe, or if you have any debt to someone. All
And you
right?
see these words a lot in word problems, right? So if you're doing a money word problem, you should have your antenna up to see these earning and spending words, and then you know they convert to either adding or subtracting.
Okay, right. And so for multiplication, you can multiply, multiplication, product, times, lots of, multiply by, times tables, groups of. I don't know, like columns and rows of would obviously also be multiplication.
Or just the word of.
Of, you're right.
You have of in a word problem. In the right context, it always means multiply.
I'll
should
give
be
you an
able to tell.
example. If you do 50% of 200 is 100, and you're supposed to take 50% and take it down to 0.5 or 1/2, and then multiply times 200.
Exactly
So
right.
yeah, that does. Of means multiply. Good one.
And the opposite of multiply is divide. And divide has many words as well. Division, share, group, divide, divide into, divided by, divisible by, and share equally.
Right. So if you have groups of, it's multiplication. But if you group thing and you divide it out, of course, usually division is getting smaller and usually multiplication is getting bigger. So let's talk about how to add and subtract with negative numbers, okay? We're going to skip this part right here. And to me, I used to coach football. I used to play football, and I wasn't I was small, but I was slow. Okay, that was my big advantage. I was small, but I was slow. Anyway, I used to coach
advantage.
football, and so basically, we're going to tell you about football plays or a money story to add or subtract negative numbers. So basically, you get 4 downs. Just forget about the 4 downs. Just think about 2 downs. So if you gain 5 yards, it would be like +5 on down 1. And then if you lose 7 yards, it would look like that. So from the line of scrimmage, of course, you would be -2. And you can obviously see that. I mean, you can draw it out there. If you go +5 and then you'd go -7, you know that you should be -2 from the end of 2 plays. So that's your 2 numbers. Play number 1, play number 2, don't punt, and then you know where you end up. Okay, same thing as if you go 5 and then you go 12, then you know that you go 17. It's not as good to lose 5 and then to lose 12, but some teams try that. They're called the Miami Dolphins. Okay, and then they would lose 17. Okay, all right.
And that's 5's generally a running play, and the 12 is generally a passing play.
Yeah, it's a
So
sack.
you got to mix it up.
I would not call a sack in that situation. I end up saying all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can think of a football. You can think inchworm going forward and backward and all that. And then tell us about the money story. How does that work?
So another way to start thinking about positive and negative numbers is using money. So what's the money story? Well, let's say you have $5 in your pocket and you go to a store. Can I buy something for $7? Well,
most people say no. If you only have 5, you can't spend 7.
it's true. It's absolutely true. You're limited.
All right.
Exactly
So you have 5. Can you spend 7? What's the answer?
Yes.
Okay.
Credit cards, always.
Except what do you do? What happens at the end of that transaction?
Well, you're in debt.
Yeah. How much?
Negative $2.
You're in debt by 2, which means negative 2. Right. The answer is going to be negative 2.
Exactly right.
Right.
Exactly right. And across Josh, which is not positive. Okay.
So, all right. Here's our examples. Ready? For football, you gain 5 yards, but then you lose 7. How much have you gained? Negative 2. Okay. Just make each number a football play. All right. You tell the money story.
And the money story. You may not love math yet, but everyone likes money.
I do.
And nobody likes to get ripped off. So it's worth knowing your positive and negative numbers. If I only have $5 in my pocket and I go into a store, can I buy something for $7?
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can. And
America.
you'll
You'll be negative 2.
be negative too, but a lot of people are. You're in good company.
All right, let's try these. Ready? Negative 4 and negative 9. If I do the money story, I'm going to say I lost 4 yards and then I lost 9. Since I'm going the same direction, which is backwards, it might be the Miami Dolphins. I think that's going to be negative 13.
Go Dolphins.
All right.
Okay.
The money story for that one is I owe someone $4 and then I borrow another $9 from them. But that's the wrong direction. But you'd be negative 13, or you'd be in debt to them $13. That's common sense, right?
Right.
All
13, number 2 pencils. Mm-hmm.
Negative 10 and 12. Tell me football play.
So football play, you get a shotgun and it goes over your head. Football goes over your head. You go pick it up
Bad snap.
and you get tackled. You get tackled into the mud,
Negative 10.
and so you just lost 10 yards.
Except then you do a screen pass on the second play. Good call.
Next one, you do a screen pass. Great play call by Josh, and you run out. You juke somebody and you dive in while getting tackled and you gain 12 yards.
12 yards. Okay, that's plus 2. You still need 8 on
So
third down.
you made up for, the terrible over snap, but you still have a ways to go.
Third and long,
But-
get a pass.
Good news, you're positive too.
Okay, so let's practice on here. I'll do the football story and you do the money story, okay?
Alright.
If I gain 2 yards, but then I lose 7. All right, what's the money story?
Money story is that I make $2, but then I went to the movies and I spent $7 on popcorn.
Oh, you got lucky on that. Oh, just for popcorn. Probably a small, okay? So, of course, we land where? Negative 5. You get
Negative 5.
Okay. Football story number 2. I lost 10 yards, but then I gained 11. I'm plus 1.
You're right.
Money story.
Money story. I lost $10 from my wallet, and then I gained $11
By doing yard work.
by doing yard work
Yes.
and collecting
Yes.
all these Miami palm fronds off my lawn.
Work harder, kids. Work harder. Okay. Get a paper route.
I
Okay, so
believe.
you're plus 1, right?
Plus 1.
Okay, which is just 1. Okay.
Right.
Okay. The third one is I lose 10 yards and then I lose another 8 yards.
Woo!
I'm negative 18.
You were in the hole. You're in the hole,
The
big
money
Josh.
story is
No.
I buy a soda. I buy admission for $10 and then I buy a Coke for $8 because Monopoly, and you're still negative 18. So negative numbers are like negative money or negative yards, okay? Now, what we need to do is read up here and how do you subtract? Not for negative, but for subtraction. That's the eraser. It's not really going to work as well. For subtraction, you're just going to add the opposite. How does this work? Ready? 5 minus 3. Well, we know what the answer to that is, but pretend it looks like this. 5 is a positive 5, and minus is a positive 3. Okay? What do? You add the opposite. So I add a negative 3. Okay? So you know what this is, Vitas?
What is this?
That's a teeter-totter, right? So if you put a
Oh.
10 and a 9, it would slant this way. So what you do is you subtract one from the other, and then whatever one's bigger. So 5 minus, that's going to be 2. All right? So what that would look like here is minus a plus there and a negative there, if that makes any sense, okay? How do you do this? You add the opposite, okay? So that's a plus, and that would look like this. 3 minus 5 is the same thing as adding a negative 5. Okay, now tell the football story.
Football story. You run a running play right up the middle and gain three tough yards.
Yeah. Your story doesn't start like on a bright Sunday at 1:05, and the Patriots are. You don't do the full story. You just give like the results of the play.
I thought I was
No,
crossing
sorry,
over
not
from
too many
verbal.
adjectives.
I was
That was
thinking
less like
verbal,
creative
in the
writing,
math,
right?
And,
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
straightforward. Sorry.
Right. Okay, you gain 3 yards, and then
And then you lose 5 yards.
yeah, okay, and so
And so
-2.
you're -2.
All right, I'll tell the money story. I had $3, but I spent 5, and you can't see behind my head because. All right, and so you're still -2. Either way, whether it's money or football, yards or dollars, it doesn't matter. Okay, so football story. I lose 3 yards, but then I gain 5 yards. I must be +2. Okay,
Exactly right.
money story
Lose $3 and then you find $5.
on the street. Suck it up. Okay, so here's a minus and negative. How do you do subtraction? You do adding the opposite. So this problem looks like this: -3 minus a -5. 2 negatives equal a positive. Now, some math teachers I know says that this looks like a a Chinese man. I think that's racist, so I think it's a sleeping man. So here's the sleeping man. Here's his nose. Here's his eyes that are closed, right? You don't need to put a smile or like that, but that's what he looks like. Okay, oops. All right, what I do is you could make him into a dead man by adding the opposite, okay? Or you can just make it into a big plus sign. Okay, so what does that look like now? If I add a -5, then I lose 3 yards and I gain 5 yards and I'm still +2. Okay, so
Very slick. I like that.
Subtracting
I like that
a
one.
negative is the same thing as adding a positive or adding the opposite. Okay, in terms of money story, I owed $3, but then I earned 5, and then I can pay back my debts and still have $2 to spend elsewhere.
Also, if you lean towards English, if you like that, if you see a double negative in English, it also is a positive.
Right.
So same thing in math. You see 2 negatives side to side right here, also turns to a positive.
I have nothing in my hand. I don't have nothing in my hand because I have something.
Exactly right.
Doesn't work in Spanish. Okay, so this one, number 10, -5 minus a -3 is the same thing as adding a +3. Okay, and so that would have looked like this: -5 minus a -3. Where's the sleeping man? Right there. And thank you. And he just becomes a big plus. I lost 5 yards, but I gained 3, so I'm +2. I owed someone $5, and then I gained 3, and I still have 2. So that's the way that works. Okay. Now, which one is easier, Vitas, adding or multiplying? Usually.
Adding.
Okay. Which one's easier, subtracting or dividing?
Subtracting.
But with negatives, it's like even the multiply. Like, okay, first of all, this is not that hard. This is not that hard, but what's even easier is multiplying and dividing with negative numbers. All you have to do is count the negatives. Okay? There's 2 products. There's 2 factors here, and we need a product. How many of them are negative?
Just one.
Just one. So I just put 1 negative. How many of these are negative? 1, 2. 1, 2.
So you always start with a sign. You do sign first, then you follow with the number calculation.
Right.
Always sign first.
A 2 is positive or -2? This one.
That's positive.
Okay. And then how many are negative? 1, 2, right?
Absolutely right.
So that's 1 and 2. What you can't do is do this as the first one, because that's actually a 1. You have to do the first one as a negative, and the second one, when you turn your pen, it becomes another negative.
Right.
You do 1 negative and another negative, make it positive, okay? And so what is 1 times 7? It's 7. So -1 times 7 equals a -7. What's 2 times 7? 14. So a negative times a negative equals a positive. 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. And so since it has 2 negatives, it's a 1, 2, positive 8.
And so this is the way we cleanly divide labor in this problem. We first look at all the signs of each number,
Yes?
and we put the final sign. So the final sign for the first problem is negative. The
Right.
final sign for the second problem is positive because you count 1,
One,
2,
two.
//3. You look just at the signs. You only see 2 negatives. You count them. 1, 2. Get the positive sign.
And then multiply the numbers, and you'll get the 8.
So it's a 2-part solve,
Exactly.
2-part system. And so it's really clean. Do signs first, numbers second.
And it really works for division 2. Do these 3 on your own, okay? But it works for division 2. This fraction sign means divided. 10 divided by 2. But first, count the negatives. This is the key. This is the rule. How many negatives are in there, Vitas?
1 negative.
So just draw the sign ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
How many are in number 8?
2 negatives.
1, 2. How many are in number 9?
1 negative.
Perfect. Now let's go back and get the quotient. 10 divided by 2 is?
5.
So 10 divided by negative 2 is negative 5. How many negatives? 2, 1, 2. And then what's 25 divided by 5?
5.
So it's positive 5. Okay. What's 100 divided by 4? Only one negative?
25.
It's negative 25. Of
Right.
course.
So do all the signs first, do all the numbers second.
And do these on your own. Okay. But this is pretty simple, and I think you'll be good at
And
it.
remember, this is only with multiplying and dividing
With
numbers,
negatives.
right?
Yeah, only multiplying and dividing. You count
Right.
the negatives. That's how you do
That's
it.
it.
All right. Good luck.
Good luck.